Hello everybody! Today we are going to be asking Reddit users the question posed by my name Memby. What is your worst story from the throw him in the pool and he will learn how to swim parenting style? Let's get to it. When I was around 11 or 12, says Rundy MC, two kids from the neighborhood got into a street fight. Kid number one clearly got the best of kid number two. And kid number two was crying and went home. Should have been the end of the story. Kid number two's parents met him at his front door and sent him back out there to continue to fight. I'm not sure if it was about honor or what, but it was painful to watch. Oh man, random Tim Baylor adds, I've got somebody to apologize to if I can remember his name. Similar situation. Kid joined my hockey team and he was really bad. He was costing us games and I took recreational hockey way too seriously. At practice, I would just murder him every time he touched the puck. In my mind, I was hoping he would realize that it wasn't for him and quit. I found out later that he would have loved to quit, but his dad was making him play. Didn't keep running him after I found out, but I probably wasn't exactly friendly either. Only mitigating factor was he was probably close to twice my size. Shingpar adds, my dad bought a new house after my parents divorced. Behind us were two kids close in age, 9 or 10 I think, with me that used to fuck with me every time I visited. One day, they hopped my dad's fence, pushed me down, and stole my basketball. When I told my dad, he decided to go to their parents to get my ball back. Oh, wait. No, that's what normal dads would do. My dad, the former pro boxer, made me fist fight both of them one at a time and to earn my basketball back. My dad encouraged me to fight people too, says Heyo Meatballs. He wasn't an ex-boxer or anything, just thought it was cool to have a daughter that could throw a punch. Once my brother and I raced to the car to see who could get to the front seat. We tied, and while we were arguing, Dad came up, yanked us both around by the backs of our necks, and started screaming at us, demanding that we fight each other for the right to the front seat. We refused, and he grounded us both, then spent weeks reminding me how much of a wimp I am for refusing to punch my brother. We were 10 and 11. I got a similar treatment to you, says Shingpar. My dad told me repeatedly as a kid that I'd be more grounded, his words, not mine, if I let myself get bullied, rather than fighting back. So I took it to heart and I fought a lot in grade school and junior high. It wasn't until he remarried someone half his age and adopted her kids and ghosted me and my brothers that I realized how fucked up the whole thing actually was. It's amazing how stupid people are, says Crystal and Noel. At a party, some kid pushed my little brother, around 5 I think, into a pool when he couldn't swim. He was walking around it to grab a ball that he was throwing. The kid did it because the adults were doing it, by the way. Adults saw my brother get pushed in and start bobbing up and down. I distinctly heard someone say in a super chill voice, "Oh, he can't swim." I have never in my life moved so fast, jumped out of my chair, jumped into the pool in my clothes, and grabbed him. I was furious. I saw an event like this in a pool once, adds Alicorn Gamer. I was on holiday and was in the deep pool. One pool was mainly shallow. The other went from shallow to deep. I was about 15 at the time, and a kid was standing on the edge. I was watching him from near where the lifeguard was, as I had a feeling something bad is going to happen. The kid looked terrified. He had inflatables on, and I didn't think too much of it. I saw him crying, but then the father just pushed him in and was flailing about, and the armbands slipped off. I shouted at the lifeguard, who was keeping an eye out on kids mucking it about in the deep end, pushing each other's heads underwater and whatnot, and he had to jump in and save the kid. It was terrifying to see, and I left the pool after getting out. We were instructed often people drown with their face barely above water, not shouting or arms flailing under the water as they struggle to try and stay above it. They panic. People don't always scream when they're drowning because their brain is in survival mode. And the last thing you think of when in a blind panic and really not having much oxygen is to try and scream when you can't even breathe. Either that, or your parents were kind of shitty and just didn't care. My dad held me under the water when we were in holiday in Italy, adds little sad Rufus. He said he wanted me to know what drowning felt like, so I'd take water safety seriously. I don't know what he was thinking. He was otherwise always a very well-behaved dad. It's interesting to read these because my folks were very, he'll figure it out, says Elmo no and Nano no. Because they always gave me enough information to get started and then would answer questions, like the driving ones. My dad told me the basics, and then on Sundays he would get the paper and drive us to a cemetery that had a reasonable amount of turns and hills. He explained the basics of how the clutch works and what different feelings from the clutch meant. Then he got out and sat on a bench and read his paper. I drove around and learned to shift and turn on different grades of hills and how to keep the car from drifting. It took like 3 Sundays before I got competent enough to try actual roads. It wasn't a lot of information, but it was enough that I could figure it out, and it was the right environment for me to figure it out in. Low stress and kind of smaller and emptier version of the real thing. Yeah, learning in parking lots is... The majority of parents are people who've had unprotected sex, says Abba Goodnight. And when they make a baby, when they're like, well, that's supposed to happen eventually, let's just go with it. I am convinced most people hate their children, says Dale Leatherwood. When I talk about wanting to spend time with my family, I'm often shocked at how many parents want to just find some way to ignore their kids and drink or pawn the kids off. Parent, I wasn't told how to do that, and I turned out fine. By Magdalene Gets. No, you didn't. You did not, in fact, turn out fine. The biggest cause of drowning is not a lack of knowledge, but panic, says Danfe. So even if you had known, putting you in a terrifying and stressful situation significantly increases the chance of drowning. When people get scared, they behave instinctively. And if you aren't very experienced at swimming, it turns out your natural instincts are pretty terrible for swimming. Yeah, especially if you're anxiety prone. That was my thought too, says Macahoron. Drowning can happen so fast, it's really crazy to just hope things work like that. A college kid from the local college drowned in a pool on spring break just from kicking around and holding his breath for too long. Not to mention just shoving your kid in shows them it's an acceptable thing to do, when really it's very shitty and is dangerous. Damn, that's awful, adds Pro Gamer Queen. I hate stories like this, where this is how adults try to teach their kids how to swim. Swimming is a life skill that is all about patience and getting comfortable in the water. My mom was very adamant that I learn to swim at a young age, so instead of throwing me in like a lunatic, I was put in lessons and summer camps to learn. Now I can swim really well and know things like how to swim out of a riptide, and I love the water. I just don't get why parents think that a child can just be thrown into the deep end and just figure it out. Oh, what we should be asking is, why are the two options either take forever, pay people money to teach you a basic instinct of how to swim, or throw the kid in with no support whatsoever? Like, can't you, like, hold the kid and, tread water in the deep end? Aren't there a wide range of other things you can do in society? 7 years old, my dad told me some kind of science kit for my brother and I. Adds Knox, J. Knox. This kit contained a scalpel. When he was showing it to us, he said, "Give me your hand." I stuck my hand out without thought, and he cut my finger. In retrospect, I didn't think there was a lesson to be learned. I mean, I wouldn't either. That's just, like, you don't need to be taught that way. That's harsh. Sometimes a little bit is okay, but you shouldn't subject somebody else to trauma. Life's traumatic enough. day, after I yet again tried to touch the stove flames, my mom pulled me aside, told me how fire could be dangerous, lit a match, and told me to touch it with the very tip of my finger. I did, and yanked it away a split second later. It stung for a few seconds tops, but it was a very effective lesson, and I never tried to shove my fingers onto the burning stoves again. Honestly, if my mom hadn't done that, I would have definitely continued to ignore her warnings and probably gotten a serious injury. Look at that, a mother who's aware that there's a wide variety of different options you have. That sucks so much, says Never Forget Trogdor. I had a similar, but less terrible, experience. I was sick with a cough, and it was Christmas break. My bedroom was upstairs, so I tried to rest and write it out. At dinner, I told my mom that I thought I needed to go to the doctor because if I was getting more painful to breathe and I was coughing a lot. She said that she didn't notice my coughing and I would be fine in the morning. I thought about it and decided to hang out in the living room that evening. After about an hour of my coughing, she said I really was coughing a lot and we went to the doctor. I had a pretty bad case of bronchitis, so bad that I bruised my rib from coughing. They gave me a nebulizer treatment in the ER, a shot of steroids, and a shot of antibiotics. We left with a prescription for more antibiotics, more steroids,